Happy Friday. Made it through another week. And welcome to Gamble Data, our live session on Friday afternoons. So we used to do these at 10 p.m. and moving them up a little bit to 12:30 on Fridays, just to give people a chance to be able to jump in that maybe are not up late, or maybe, for those of you on the West Coast, maybe dinner time for you. So every week I bring a topic. This week's topic is ethical AI, data governance, and really how it all relates, right? Data quality, governance, and how it all relates to AI. So, going to get into that. Also, we get into questions. It really open up at the end of the conversation to anything about data engineering, whether it be what we talked about during the session or other topics that you may have on your mind. So, I want to start off with, tell me, have you ever approved a business decision only to realize later that it was based on bad data? Or maybe you've seen bad data lead to bad business decisions. Imagine filing a loan application and being wrongly rejected because of biased data, or customers that are unjustly targeted due to other hidden biases. There was a great movie years ago. I want to say it was Keanu Reeves in it, but it was this concept, futuristic concept of that they were predicting um, crimes that were going to happen and going ahead and arresting the people based on that prediction of something that could be. And it was AI running it, right? And so, those are the type of bias that, can happen if we leave AI unchecked without any ethics or governance guardrails around it. Um, these aren't really hypothetical scenarios anymore. At the time the movie came out, it was, but they occur regularly now. Often, due to weak data governance, again, junk in, junk out, bad data. Today we're starting to dive into ethical AI and how robust data governance really needs to be in place so that you're protecting your business. Um, and data quality feeds into all that, right? It's not, you can't leave one without the other. And so let me know as we're going through this down in the comments what type of biases that you've seen in AI and in your own data that have led to bad decisions or bad outcomes. So love to know your stories. So going back to data quality, it's been a theme. If you've been watching my posts, watching my videos, data quality has been kind of the theme for the week. Um, but data quality is more than just a technical issue and a technical need. It's an ethical imperative. It really is. It making sure that data is whole, accurate, not biased, not skewed, is an ethical issue as well as a quality issue. AI systems are often fed this bad data or biased data that produces unfair results. And again, you have to have some type of guardrails in place in order to uh, keep this from happening. Because AI comes in, and it's one thing when you're doing even real time reporting, right? And you're feeding that data to your business to make decisions. It's a whole nother thing when you have AI that not only are you feeding it bad data that might be, skewing some type of report results, but AI is often now making decisions based on that information. So making sure that AI systems are being fed accurate, clean data becomes even that much more important because AI comes in and really amplifies not only the speed at which you're able to do things, but also the speed at which bad data gets distributed and disseminated amongst the rest of the business and the world. So, I was researching before the session and found this kind of case study about this. Amazon discontinued an AI recruiting tool after discovering that it was discriminating against women. And it was not intentional. It was not, malicious. It was not on purpose, but it was because the training data was so incredibly skewed towards male candidates because historical hiring patterns, there were mostly male candidates. And so AI was, discriminating against anything that showed up as, uh, a female or a woman. And it was because there was some weak governance in place, some poor, data quality standards, and it allowed that biased data to corrupt the outcomes. Um, and so that's a real tangible harm that occurred. Another example, a regional healthcare provider, was facing lawsuits after some AI based diagnostic systems made incorrect recommendations, and it was because patient records were not whole and not consistent, and the organization actually faced a $2.5 million fine. They really incurred a lot of reputational damage, and because all of this became public. So these are the reasons why it's so important to make sure that your data quality is there, right? You're doing your data quality checks up front, you are cleaning the data, you are making sure that the right data is getting to the right place, and that you have governance policies in place to make sure that the data is going to the right place and only the right people can see it. And I have one more scenario, and then I'll get into some of the other nitty gritty here. For those of you that are out there that have joined, let me know, say hi, let me know where you're calling in from, where you're watching from, and love to hear from you. All right, third scenario: a mid-sized manufacturing firm automated some quality inspections with AI, and they failed to account for some of the calibration drift that happens. Common thing that happens in manufacturing, and it led to some misclassified defects. The oversight ended up costing the company over $1 million in rework and delayed some product shipments. And so this really highlighted the need for some industry specific governance checks around their data, right? Making sure that the right calculations were in the right places to make sure that when these things like calibration drift occurred, there were things in place to account for that. Again, another, a third scenario where introducing AI into a system that doesn't have that governance in place, doesn't have the quality checks in place, causes real financial harm to a business. So, what are the pillars of ethical AI and data governance? For those of you that have jumped on with me, let me know down in the comments, what do you think some of the pillars of ethical AI and data governance are, or maybe should be. So ethical data governance is not. Hey, Dennis, listening while I'm on traffic. Well, thank you for joining. Be careful out there driving. So ethical data governance that addresses ethical concerns relies on really three critical pillars. Number one is transparency. Document clearly how data is collected, processed, and utilized. Everyone should know exactly what data is available and where it's at, its origins, and how it's applied ethically without taking into account making sure that there's no bias and no skewness um, in that. Wait, something just changed. Okay. Um, okay. So, and the second pillar is accountability. Define clear responsibilities for data accuracy. Embrace the concept of guilty until proven innocent, ensuring that your teams are proactively validating their data. Right. It, again, especially with data, and for those of you that maybe have been in data for a while, that uh, you need to validate, inspect what you expect. There's all kinds of terminology around this, but all of it boils down to make sure that you are ensuring the accuracy of the data being pushed into your systems. Again, guilty until proven innocent when it comes to your data, especially as it relates to governance and ethics. The third pillar here is fairness. Regularly check datasets for biases and inaccuracies. You know, make sure that you're leveraging diverse sources, data sources, and identifying any potential blind spots before the issues arise. You know, just like that situation where we talked about where Amazon's AI tool was really, you know, discounting a lot of females and women that were applying for jobs because of the data that it was trained on. And so making sure that you're regularly checking your data sets that you're training various models on, whether it's a machine learning model, whether it is an AI model, that you're checking the data that's being fed, that you're kind of checking for those biases that you may not be thinking about. All right. Again, you know, a couple of people popped on. Say hi. Dennis is here. Let me know. Let me know who else is out there. Okay, integrating. You know, next we want to talk about ethics and data quality practices. You know, integrating data quality and ethical AI practices effectively involves a lot of steps. You know, the big one that we all need to think of first is data entry validation. You know, make sure that your business and your data team is investing in robust validation, whether that be a time investment or a actual monetary investment, and verification tools to catch that faulty data early. Again, you know, you have things like Great Expectations and DBT that help you with some of that. If you don't have access to those tools, or your business hasn't, you know, gotten licenses to those types of tools, then make sure that you're integrating that into like PySpark scripts or your ETL process. Also, make sure that you're having those conversations with the people, with the administrators and the people that own your front end systems where the data is being entered. Make sure that you're having those conversations of setting up some validation rules up front so that when you have users entering data, that data is coming through and being validated as it's at the point of entry. You know, another step is automated monitoring. Make sure that you're using tools like TensorFlow and SageMaker to clarify, um, or SageMaker to quickly identify unusual patterns and biases. And then the third piece here that I want to talk about is collaborative culture. Encourage cross departmental responsibility for ethical AI, ensuring that you have business wide involvement. And this helps in a lot of ways, right? It helps with making sure that you are eliminating biases. Because again, from a data team perspective, you may not be thinking of all the facets that may be going on for a specific situation, where you reach out to marketing, you reach out to sales, you reach out to customer service, and you get that feedback, and you have people from, you know, different, you know, representation from each of those different departments to ensure that you're taking into account all those different aspects. Now, I want to turn the discussion to you all, for those of you that are not driving like Dennis, or and that have popped on here. Can you recall a time that poor data quality led to ethical challenges in your workplace? I, you know, I definitely, you know, I talked about a few instances, uh, and I definitely know that I've seen instances where decisions have been made on faulty data. Uh, you know, let me know what if you have any stories. Also, what hurdles do you see when incorporating ethical considerations into some of your data governance, for those of you that have data governance policies in place? You know, I'd love to hear about your experiences. Let me know down in the chat, and we get into explore some of those insights together, maybe here in a little bit. All right. Really, in order to strengthen your data governance immediately, here are a few steps you could take. Conduct frequent bias audits, using some established frameworks like the IBM Fairness 360-degree audit or Google's fairness indicators. You know, there's those tools out there that you could use, that you have access to, that you could use to help to fight bias. Clearly assign accountability roles. Make sure that you have data stewards. Make sure that you have representatives from different parts of the business when you're talking about and implementing kind of new standards and things like that. Prioritize, and again, the guilty until proven innocent kind of concept when it comes to accountability for data. Define and track key metrics. Monitor data quality scores, have some bias detection rates, and governance compliance KPIs to really help to measure your progress over time. These are metrics that you could have in place for your team and for your AI tools that you're trying to implement. And then prioritize transparency by clearly documenting and communicating all of your data processes. So incredibly important to do this because one, you're not going to be in this position forever. You're going to get promoted, you're going to move, somebody new is going to come on and you're going to have to onboard them. That documentation is going to go a long way when you're onboarding somebody new or handing something off to somebody else. I do have a example of a KPI report that I'm going to put out on the website that you could go out and download and kind of see what these metrics might look like in a real world scenario. But a simple dashboard or mock-up that you can share or customize for tracking your governance KPIs are things, the metric, you might have a metric called data quality score, where the overall percentage of clean validated records. And then, you might have it, nothing's going to be perfect, right? No KPI is going to be at 100%. So you have to set thresholds. So you might be looking at making sure that is above 95%, right? And you might have I would recommend that you create a kind of a stoplight type reporting structure for these KPIs where you have like a good, okay, and bad kind of ranges. Bias detection rate. This would be the percentage of data sets that are audited for bias. And you might have that target threshold at 100%. Your current actual result might be more like 75%, but you might target 100% or even 90% depending on where you're at in your journey here. Governance compliance percentage, so this would be your adherence to your documented processes. And again, you'd want this to be over 90%. And you might be more in the 80s, especially as you start your journey, but hopefully you'd get to that target. You would want to get to that target. Two more, and then we'll jump into other things. Incident remediation time, this would be the average time to resolve data incidents and in days, right? And you'd want this to be probably less than 5 days to start off with, but you might tighten that up as you continue along your journey. Model audit frequency. So this is the number of bias or fairness audits per quarter, and this is going to be dependent on what you have out there, what's going on. You might start with 4 per quarter, or maybe you're just doing 1. Maybe you're just doing 3 per quarter, 1 per month. And these are ways that you can really track and hold your data team accountable for data governance and ethics. So, a tip here, big tip here, especially as data teams, use your BI tool to visualize these metrics and set alerts for these thresholds, and so that you could see in real time where you're at with being, holding yourself and your teams accountable to this. Ethical AI isn't just about good business. It is so incredibly important for business survival, especially as you're implementing AI into your, workflows and things like that. Ignoring, ethical data governance really leads to a lot of costly mistakes. Incorrect decisions can cost really millions on corrective actions, whether that be rework or that be some type of fines, which leads me into regulatory fines. Companies have faced penalties exceeding $2 million for mishandling data and not complying with various regulations and laws. Brand damage. We've seen it time and time again where there have been data quality issues, there's been leaks, there's been ethical issues and how data is being used, how personal data in particular is being used, and then it gets publicized and really harms your business and harms your brand. in ways that you can't recover from. So it's so incredibly important that you are safeguarding your customers' data and your data and your future, your business future, um, when you're thinking about governance and quality. So, that's the part that I wanted to talk through today. And again, like always, here to answer any questions about data engineering, about data ethics or governance that we just got finished talking about. There's so much more that can go along with it. And it becomes so incredibly important, especially as you're introducing AI and just in reporting, just in daily reporting, making sure that you're giving your business accurate data to make good, sound business decisions. Again, a few more people have jumped on. Be sure that you're saying hello. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're calling from, and love to have a conversation. For those of you, that are just joining, we talked about AI governance and data governance and ethics, and how it relates to AI and introducing AI on top of those things. This, which really feeds into a lot of the topics that we've talked about on the channel this week, and that I've talked about on LinkedIn this week about data quality. Right, data quality is so incredibly important, and the last data engineering 101 lesson was all around resilient pipelines, and part of building resilient pipelines is doing your data quality checks and making sure that that data quality is there as you're pushing data out into your production tables, and especially as that data is flowing into your reporting that your business is making decisions off of. And in that lesson, I give and walk through, a Python script that you could actually take and use in your own workflows and start to build your own resilient pipelines and make it your own. But walk through that in detail. That's why this week's lesson was so long, almost 30 minutes. And a big chunk of that was walking through very line by line, very detailed, what that Python script's doing. But again, say hello. Let me know what questions you might have about AI ethics or about the data engineering career in general, and happy to have those conversations. And happy Friday. If nobody has any questions, I'll probably jump off in a few minutes. But if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I am wrapping up editing on the most recent video or my Friday video that's going to go out, and it is the data words lesson of the week, where I am talking about, again, data quality, the concept of garbage in, garbage out. I'm going to pop up my favorite image of the week that I did was this garbage in, garbage out with Oscar the Grouch. And let's see, let me share it real quick. Garbage in, garbage out, sure. So there's Oscar the Grouch, just talking about, garbage in, garbage out. Again, this leads into everything we've talked about this session. If you have garbage data, putting AI on top of garbage data is not going to fix your problem. Just like migrating to the cloud didn't fix all of your data woes when from your on-prem, you just moved it, right? And probably cost yourself and your business a lot of money along the way, because things needed to be fixed and refactored. When you're doing migrations, when you are implementing new tools, those are great opportunities to evaluate what's going right and what's going not so right in your processes and workflows. Because a new tool is not going to fix data quality. It's not going to fix the efficiency of your queries unless you're changing your queries, right? So make sure that you're evaluating those things and you're using your new tools to their full effectiveness, whether you're migrating from SQL Server to Databricks or to Azure, um, or to AWS, whatever the case may be, and make sure that you're using those tools and that opportunity to evaluate everything that you're migrating. So again, garbage in, garbage out. Putting AI on top of garbage data is not gonna fix your garbage data. And there's nothing in AI that can fix your garbage data. You're gonna have to do that before you implement AI. So that's my favorite image of the week for the videos that we did. I do want to, really want to give some props out to Rita. Stop screen sharing and share this one. Rita, I sent an email out or a message out on Discord saying, hey, if you have any, suggestions on data quality situations that you'd like to see me integrate into the pipeline resiliency video, let me know. And Rita jumped in with always check for nullability. There's if there are any nulls where I expect data to be present, then I want to check for it. And it's really one of the simplest yet most effective checks to catch missing or incomplete records early. Again, great suggestion. Thank you, Rita, for jumping in with that. And I do this. If you're not part of the Discord, be sure that you jump in to our Discord channel. I gather feedback on Discord, gather feedback on LinkedIn often. Be sure to check out the community tab in YouTube as well for those of you that are part of the channel. And I get feedback and try to spotlight those that do give great suggestions. So thank you. Well, I think we're dwindling down here, but want to thank everybody for jumping on this afternoon. I appreciate you jumping in. Let me know if there's any final questions down in the chat, and I'll get to them. But aside from that, I'll let you all get back to your Friday, and hopefully you have a great lunch and have a fantastic weekend. And I'll talk to you all again soon.